Hello everyone! Today we're going to be making a relief paper sculpture inspired by the beloved Detroit artist named Charles McGee. So for this project you're going to need two pieces of paper. You're going to need a black and a white. I'm picking rectangular, but honestly the shape and size doesn't matter. I do recommend some heavier paper, maybe like tagboard or Bristol, something that's a little bit thicker. You're going to want scissors and a glue stick, and you're also going to want black marker of some kind, whether it's a Sharpie or a regular black marker, and of course your pencil. So let's get going. Step one is to take your white piece of paper and divide it into 6 sections. That means you're going to be drawing 5 lines. Okay, so they can be any shape lines you want, but they cannot cross each other. So they're okay. So I've drawn 5 lines. And I've got 6 sections now of my paper. So 5 lines makes 6 sections. We have 6 sections, and we are going to be filling each section with patterns. You can use your pencil or you can use a marker to do this part. I am choosing to keep my patterns black and white because I am trying to imitate Charles McGee's style of using contrasting colors. If you instead want to use complementary colors to show contrast, like green and red, purple and yellow, orange and blue, that would be fine too. So feel free to make this your own. I'm going to be brave and just dive in with my marker. So in every section, you're going to decide what sort of pattern you want to do inside. You could do something that is pretty simple and repetitive, like stripes, polka dots. You could put multiple patterns within one section. I decided to just do stripes, and instead of making them all the same, I did some thick and some thin in between. That creates a little bit of interest. Now, like I said, you could fill a section with just a simple shape that you repeat, like a straight line, a zigzag line, a curvy line, or polka dots, squares, triangles, stars, hearts, things like that. You can also consider doing multiple patterns inside one shape. Let me show you what I mean. I have some stripes. I also have some circles. Some are colored in, some are not. I'm trying to create a little bit of variety. So every section, you want to create a different pattern inside that section. Like finished all my patterns, so every section has something different in it. I tried to color in the background sometimes, do repetitive lines. I just kind of made it up as I went along, and if something turned into something else that I didn't mean for it to be, then that's just the way it is. But again, that's because I did this in marker and I could not erase any of my mistakes, so I just kind of went with it. But I am excited about my results. So now we're ready to move on to part 2, which is to take this piece, cut it apart, and then glue it, curl it, bend it onto our final paper to create our relief sculpture. So what you're going to do is cut out each strip. If it's hard to tell what was from the one shape and what was from the other, just make a decision and go for it. All my pieces cut out, and now I'm ready to start gluing them to my board. So this part you're just going to have to go for it a little bit because it's really hard to plan out ahead of time. It's one of those things you have to feel out as you go along. But let me show you some things you can do. You can easily just bend this to create a nice archway and glue one end on one side, glue one end on the other side, and depending on how close or far apart you put them together is going to depend how big of an arch you have. So really far away So if you glue them farther away, you're going to have a lower arch. If you glue them closer together, it's going to look more like this. You can also feel free to put some that are going on top of others. You can also twist some of these. So if I decided I wanted this one to have a little bit of a curly look, you can take your pencil or marker or whatever. You can take the end of the paper and bend it around it and keep twirling and bending it around the barrel of whatever object you're using, and it'll create a really nice curled effect with your paper, which could be really cool on its own too. So you could glue one end down, have the other end curled up, and it would create a really interesting, funky sort of shape. So play around with what you have, look at the shapes that you have, decide what's going to look good in what sort of direction. And the nice thing is, even after you glue it down, you can peel it up pretty quickly. But the nice thing is you can really bend and twist these to do a lot of really unusual, interesting things that you may not have realized were possible. So get experimenting, get these things glued down, and let's see how it looks when we're all done. Okay, it's all done. My Charles McGee inspired relief sculpture in contrasting black and white is finished. I took all of my pieces and I played around with it a lot, decided where I wanted to glue the pieces, how they were going to curl, how they were going to interact with each other, what was going to go over and under, was something going to be higher on one end, lower on the other, was it going to be totally low throughout, really high up. I'm going to just rotate this around so you can see some of the different shapes and things that we ended up with. You'll also notice that the paper does appear to be bowing. That means curling a little bit. That is going to happen especially with the glue that is sort of suctioning it up. So if you find that that's happening a lot, there's a couple things you could do. First, just wait for it to dry and see if the bowing sort of thing flattens out on its own. The other option is just get a heavier piece of paper for the, it could be a much thicker tag board. You could even use cardboard, or you could take something that's black and glue it to something heavier, but anything that would be a little bit stiffer and heavier is going to help to stay flat a little bit better. Anyway, I hope you guys had a lot of fun making this relief sculpture with me. I definitely enjoyed working with this, and feel free to experiment with different patterns, maybe even some different colors. But the black and white is super striking. So, can't wait to see some of your patterns, some of your designs, and the way you solve relief sculpture problem. Happy art making!